Thank you very much. Again, thank you so much, Emma, for facilitating such a very inspiring and instructive panel. Now we'll be switching gears a little bit and have two lightning talks. And these will be focused on tech supporting social cohesion. So with me, I have the privilege of having on this stage Julia Coffin, who will be talking to us about the perception gap and what More in Common does about that. And then I also have the privilege of having Karin Tamerius, who will be talking about Angry Uncle Chatbot, and she's the director of SmartPolitics and the Troll Tamer movement.
That's me.
That's you. And I'm like wondering, that's really a trick that you played on me.
You're getting two of us from More in Common. We're very excited.
All right, so let's start then with both of you, and then we move to Karin.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, we can start things off. So thanks so much. My name is Julia Coffin, and I'm joined by my colleague Calista, and we're from More in Common. And today we're going to be talking about polarization and perception gaps in the United States. All right, great. So first, a bit more about us. So More in Common is a nonpartisan, nonprofit research and civic organization. So we conduct research to better understand the nuances of Americans' attitudes and beliefs and help support short and long-term research to better understand drivers of polarization, as well as to build more united, inclusive, and stronger societies. Next slide. So we are most well known for our 2018 study, Hidden Tribes, which divided Americans into 7 distinct groups based on their core beliefs, their values, and their levels of civic engagement. Loosely speaking, Americans can be divided into 2 buckets, both the wings and then the exhausted majority. The wings make up about 1/3 of the US population, but often dominate the national conversation as they're deeply political and engaged. The exhausted majority make up the remaining segments of the population, and they are politically diverse but unified in that they are fed up with polarization, but they still believe that we can find common ground. Next slide. And we also do a lot of research on perception gaps, which is what we're going to speak about today. So in the next 5 minutes, we are going to talk about what perception gaps are, why they're important, and then profile a digital tool that we developed to help identify and correct perception gaps.
Yes. Can you hear me? Oops. Hi! I'm Calista, so there are 2 of us here today, which is very exciting. So I'm going to do a really brief overview, super brief, of polarization in the United States today. So in 2022, we asked Americans, we gave them a long list of words, and we said, what would the top words be for you to describe the state of our country? And the majority of them said divided, followed by chaotic and intolerant. So also, over the last 4 years, Americans' desire to listen to others and compromise has dropped by 11 percentage points, and that's at the average. That drop is even more pronounced among the wing segments that Julia just mentioned. In addition, partisan animosity, which refers to feelings of hostility towards one's rival political group, is very high. So more than 7 in 10 Democrats and Republicans view the other side as brainwashed, arrogant, and hateful. And these high levels of partisan animosity, of course, are contributing to intense feelings of distrust. So 67% of the US population says you can't be too careful in dealing with people. So these feelings of division and partisan animosity and hostility are leading Americans to really socially and physically distance themselves from their rival political group members, which contributes to the formation of perception gaps. So what is a perception gap? A perception gap is the difference between what you think a group believes and what it actually believes. So there are 2 examples here, and I'm actually just going to talk through the first one. So in 2022, we asked Democrats if they agreed with the following statement. All students should learn about how the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution advance freedom and equality. And Democrats said yes. 92% of Democrats said yes, we agree with that statement. We then asked Republicans, how many Democrats do you think agree with this statement? And Republicans said only 45% of Democrats would agree with that statement. So you can see there's a huge discrepancy between what Democrats actually believe and what Republicans think that they believe. And of course, Democrats hold huge perception gaps as well, which is what the image is on the bottom. And in yellow, we have independents. Independents also hold perception gaps, though they're not as pronounced. So we developed a digital tool to help correct some of these misperceptions, and you all get to do it right now. Yay! So please take out your phones and scan the QR code or go to perceptiongap.us. We only have 1 minute to do this, and unfortunately this quiz is only for relevant for people living in the United States, so if you don't live in the United States, the questions won't be as relevant to you, but you can still kind of go through it to get a sense of what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to time everyone. We have 1 minute, and we'll walk around in case anyone has questions. Okay, we're starting. Or we don't need to walk around. Well, we can walk around.
Is it working?
You want us to take the quiz?
Take the quiz. Really quick. It'll take about 1 minute. Oh no, the Wi-Fi isn't working. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, the quiz will be there, so if you want to take it later, that's fine as well.
What percentage of people decline to take the quiz?
That's true. That'll be our next study. More information coming soon. All right, you have 15 more seconds, and if you don't finish it now, it's all right. You can finish it later today. All right, so I appreciate you all speedily taking the quiz. It will be available online for you to take at a later date if you didn't get to it. But of those who did complete it, did anybody by a show of hand have a perception gap less than 10%? Whoa, excellent. Yes, give yourself a round of applause. For those who had a perception gap that was higher than 10%, don't worry, you are not alone. Our research found that Democrats and Republicans imagine that twice as many members of their political outgroup hold extreme views than actually do. And so we've developed this relatively quick, simple, and easy intervention to help people begin the process of identifying and correcting their own misperceptions. So I'm going to talk really briefly about the underlying technology. So in 2019, we fielded a national survey of about 2,000 Americans, and that data set serves as the baseline data used to calculate these perception gaps. We then worked with a web developer to develop the actual quiz that you all took. If folks are interested in learning more, feel free to pull Calista aside this afternoon, and we're happy to talk about the underlying technology. In the last 30 seconds, just want to profile some strengths and limitations of this model. So in late last year, the Stanford Strengthening Democracy Challenge helped publish research that found that reducing perception gaps is one of the most effective ways to reduce partisan animosity, which Calista was speaking about earlier. And so we see this tool as one possible step in helping people identify their own biases and gain a greater understanding of their political outgroup. So we see some of the strengths as it's easily accessible and highly personalized. There are, of course, some limitations. Sorry, I know we're up with time. This will take 2 seconds. First limitation being many people who take the quiz don't believe the results because it doesn't reflect their lived experience. Secondly, as mentioned, it's drawing on data from 2019, so it's a bit outdated. Really interested to see if we could develop a tool that's pulling from data that's being regularly updated. And then lastly, while we know that reducing perception gaps reduces partisan animosity, curious to learn more how those effects hold over time. So durability is something we're also interested in exploring. And thankfully, over the coming year, in collaboration with many folks in this room, we'll be continuing to do research on perception gaps and improving this intervention as well as trialing others. So thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Calista and Julia, for that quick and very informative lightning talk. Now I'm going to turn to Karin for...
Hi, everybody. I'm Karin Tamerius. I'm the founder of SmartPolitics. And SmartPolitics is a progressive organization that teaches people on the left how to have more productive and persuasive conversations with people on the right. And yes, if you're reading that, I am a political psychiatrist, and chances are you haven't encountered one before, because I think there's only one other political psychiatrist in the United States. I can tell you my story of how I got here. It's really weird. But why don't we go ahead and start with a question? And I suspect this is a question you all have an answer to, which is, what should you do if you encounter a troll? A, should you respond in kind, get snarky? B, should you ignore them and not feed? Or C, should you say hi? And of course, right, the answer is B. Conventional wisdom tells us the best response to a troll is to not feed. But what if conventional wisdom is wrong? What if, by engaging with trolls, we could actually nip the problem in the bud? What if it turned out that trolls actually weren't just bad people, but people responding to a situation? And if we can change the incentives in the situation, we can get them to behave in actually a pro-social manner. So what I'd like to present now is troll taming, which is a method that I've developed for dealing with people on social media who are behaving basically badly. Troll taming is essentially a dialogue technique that provides different incentives. It encourages people who are behaving badly to engage in a more productive manner without resort to coercion or ostracism or punishment. This is how it works. You can move to the next slide. First of all, it addresses motivation. And by motivation, I mean not all trolls are out for attention. Actually, research suggests that what trolls are looking for is social status. They want to raise their visibility. They want to feel important. They also want to have a sense of purpose. They want to feel like they belong. They want to be noticed and have the sense that people see them. So there are a lot of the different things driving trolls. Another thing is troll taming calibrates the response to trolls. So there's a huge spectrum of trolling behavior. Sometimes people are just irritable and they say things off the cuff and call people names. And then there are people who are outright abusive and engaging in hate speech. So we need a calibrated response that takes into account where people actually are. Another thing is that troll taming models good behavior. And as someone said on the last panel, modeling good behavior is one of the best ways to develop social norms that then expand through the culture on their own force. We don't have to impose them. They just naturally develop. Finally, troll taming imports external culture, which is very healthy, and puts it online. So we have a problem online where people behave in ways that they would never behave in real life. Troll taming takes that and gets them behaving in the ways they always behave. So what does troll taming look like? There are basically 4 phases. The first is connect. In my experience, 90% of trolling at least can be taken care of simply by connecting. That's all you need to do. You only move to the next stage, which is socialize, if connection doesn't work. Socialize is like, I think of it as my mom mode. Basically, I just lay out boundaries. I'm just like, nope, that's not okay. That's not how we behave here. And usually that works too. They usually say, oh, I'm sorry, and that's it. The third step, again, very rare to have to go to it, but that's when I start moving into the don't feed stage. And what don't feed looks like is only if they behave in a way that's inappropriate, I ignore it. But if they say or do anything that is appropriate, I reward that with attention. And finally, if everything else fails, then I move to isolation, which is kind of like putting them in timeout. I don't ban them, I don't block them, I might mute them for a little while, but I let them know in a very non-judgmental way, hey, seems like this isn't working out right now. If you want to come back later and talk, we can do that. But right now, this is harmful, and that's it. So this is what it looks like in detail. I'm not going to go into that. You guys can look at it later. There are some great examples that are out there of people doing this without even knowing that's what they're doing. You might be familiar with Sarah Silverman. You might be familiar with people who interacted with Megan Phelps Roper. If you aren't familiar with those situations, I strongly encourage you to learn about them. Moving on. So why does troll taming work? The fundamental reason it works is because trolls aren't bad people. They are people who are behaving badly. I'm willing to bet that every single person in this room at some point has behaved badly on social media. And if you haven't, then I'd like to shake your hand, because yeah, we all do it. So finally, I just want to leave you with a thought about how tech can help us with this. And there are really three ways. One is training chatbots, and let's move to that slide. Thanks. So training chatbots are essentially chatbots, like the thing you use to order a pizza, practicing conversation with chatbots that give users a choice between good and bad, so they can kind of learn what works and what doesn't work. It gives them the experience of interacting with a troll without having an actual troll. And finally, if you want to see some examples of this in action, I've written a couple of chatbots. If you scan that QR code, you'll find links, and you can see what these look like. They're not specific to trolling. They're specific to other types of dialogue situations, but we can teach troll taming in just the same way. And we can skip the rest. My PDF for this talk is available online if you just go to that QR code. So I knew I wouldn't get through all of this. And it's been great talking with you. Thank you.